is James Mathers at Cine Expo 2018. I'm here with Annie Chang. Annie is the VP of Creative Technologies at Universal Pictures, and she's also the chair of the ACES committee for the Academy Sci Tech Council. Our audience is fairly familiar with ACES, but for those that aren't, can you give us a little background of what the idea behind ACES is?
Sure, happy to. So ACES is a workflow, color-managed workflow that is used from onset all the way through to the finishing in the archive process. And basically the idea is to try and take away any proprietary secret sauce color from the workflow and make it into a standardized format. And it's great for especially content providers and content owners for their archives, because they basically can take their archive out in 100 years from now and utilize the standardized color there to get exactly what the creative intent was and the purpose of that. So it's also a great format from an interchange standpoint. If you're going from the original ACES files to a visual effects vendor, the visual effects vendors seem to really appreciate ACES because it's a known quantity, right? It's a standardized format. They know what type of color there is. There's no proprietary LUTs in there. So the idea is it's a great interchange format for VFX to give to them and to return back. And so it works all the way through the post-production process, allowing for creative intent to be maintained in a standardized way.
So what I shoot on the set is going to look the same as I'm going to see in the theater.
That's
ideally.
right. Assuming that you don't change your dailies color. That does happen sometimes, where people will have a certain color for dailies and then they'll change it in the DI suite. But
at least we're all on the same page.
Exactly. And so the thing is that if you have a DP or a director that was in the DI suite doing some sort of color adjustments to their content, what you see is what you get, basically. And the idea is to maintain that color throughout the various display devices. So a great thing about ACES is that we have these output transforms that optimize for different display technologies. So right now, let's say you have theatrical content, you have standard dynamic range theater projectors. You also now have high dynamic range theatrical projectors. Also then you have to create the stuff for home, so that's in standard dynamic range, but now you have all these various flavors of HDR for the home. The idea with ACES is that you have these different transforms that you just plug in at the end. It optimizes for that specific display technology, gets you in the ballpark, and then allows you to do your trim pass very easily to the different types of displays.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of science behind that, but there's also a lot of industry politics. How do you manage to get everybody on board?
Oh, it's easy. Herding cats, it's easy. So this is why we're actually doing something called ACES Next. ACES 1.0 was released in 2015, and we've learned a lot from that. There's been a lot of feedback from various groups that have been using ACES. We've been collecting a lot of that on something we call the ACES Listening Tour. And we're in the process right now. Me and my vice chairs are going to be collating the feedback. We're starting to wind down the tour, and we are collating the information and putting it out there to the public so that people know, like, hey, these are things that people actually would like to be improved upon from ACES 1.0. We call this effort ACES Next. And so the idea here is to basically take in this input, but now it's not just going to be a closed sort of system for the Academy to just, it's a black box. You throw in these ideas and then something comes out at the other end. The idea in the ACES Next effort is to make a very open community type of effort, more like an open source project. And so we're going to be asking the community to help create the solutions, vet the solutions, and help out with how we're going to be rolling these things out. So the idea here is having a much more open sort of process, that's very more transparent. And looking at various things. We're going to be looking at everything. We're just opening it all up. So everything from the input transfer forms from the cameras through to the various color spaces that are actually used for grading. We're looking at the transforms for the output and just really trying to make things probably more invertible and useful for the industry. And really, the whole point of it is to try to make it so easy that you don't even have to know that it's an ACES workflow, right? It's just something that doesn't need a lot of hand-holding, and you basically can utilize it with very easily, and so we're trying to drive adoption with ACES here with this sort of new effort, and just solve a lot of the issues that that have happened in the past, that just to streamline things. And so I'm all about trying to make things more standardized and workflow efficiencies and that sort of thing. So ACES is a great way, at least from a color standpoint, to get them standards in place.
If people want to catch up with it, or if they have questions about ACES, where can they go?
They can go to acescentral.com and sign up. It would be that's the place that we're going to be doing a lot of the broadcast of the information, and we have virtual working groups there that people can join and help with their with the development of the improvements. There's going to be a lot of flurry of activity actually in the next coming months, because we really are starting to get this curve going here, and it's moving pretty quickly. So it's the slow part here that we're having right now in this transition is just we are taking this closed system approach and opening it up. So that actually takes a little bit of a transition, trying to get that in there and just making sure we have all the pieces in place so that people can contribute. But acescentral.com is the place to go if they want to learn more.
This is very important, and we hope we can help get the word out.